Welcome. I am so glad to have everybody here with us tonight. My name is Julie Womack. I'm the head of organizing for Red, Wine, and Blue. For those who may be brand new to Red, Wine, and Blue, I do want to just give you a little information. So we are a national organization that focuses on engaging and empowering suburban women to defeat extremism in their communities. We are a place you can come to find community, find people who share your values. We help to educate you on important things like what we're doing tonight. We help train to local organize, and we really want to see people across the country getting together in their communities, starting groups, and really making their voices heard. So we are so glad to have you here. We hope you will check out everything that we're doing. Hope you'll come back for more events with us. But tonight, we are going to focus on very important races, and those are two congressional races in Florida and a Supreme Court seat in Wisconsin. So we're going to be talking about, first of all, is the first district in Florida, which is the Panhandle, Western Panhandle, Fort Walton Beach, Navarre, I'm probably saying that wrong, Pensacola area, which is Democrat Gay Vallimont versus Republican Jimmy Patronis, and I'm probably saying his name wrong. And then the sixth district, which is on the eastern coast from St. Augustine down through Daytona, South Daytona, Daytona Beach, is Josh Wheel running against Randy Fine. So we are going to talk about those seats tonight and why they are so important. And then we also know that you probably know that the Republicans hold the majority in the House of Representatives. And so only by a few seats. So these races are super important and critical. And then in Wisconsin, there is a Supreme Court seat. And we were talking about Brad Schmuel, who is the Republican, versus Judge Susan Crawford to fill that seat. And we're going to hear why that is so critical, not only to the state of Wisconsin, but also for national elections tonight. So we're going to dive into all of that. And at the end, we are also going to be sharing what you can do to make a difference in these races. We are really also happy we are going to be hearing from three women who are on the ground in these states doing the hard work, getting out there campaigning, and they're going to tell you what's going on in their states and what they're hearing on the ground. But before we do that, we need somebody who can really break all of this down, really explain it to us in a way that is easy to understand. And so that is why we are excited, as always, to have Just Craven with us. If you are not familiar with Jess, we're going to drop the link to her Substack. I can't recommend it enough. I have it every day in my inbox. Please check it out. So Chop Wood, Carry Water. Jessica Craven is an organizer, activist, political content creator, and elected member of the Los Angeles County Democratic Party. She is the author of Chop Wood, Carry Water, which is, like I said, a daily Substack newsletter. And that's published 5 days a week since November. I'm make sure I got it right, November of 2016. And her goal is to help average Americans become more engaged in the political process, and to help with elect more progressive lawmakers. So I am going to bring Jessica up, and we are going to start an amazing conversation here about these races and why everybody needs to be doing everything they can to help. Why are these upcoming elections, which are on April 1st, by the way, so we just covered them, the Wisconsin Supreme Court and the two congressional seats in Florida, why are they so crucial? And not just for the states that they are in, but for the country as a whole?
Great question. First of all, hi, everybody. So good to see everyone. Great to see so many people on this call. And thank you for having me. God, there's like still people pouring in. I love it. Love to see it. Okay. These races are, I can't really overstate the importance of these elections. There's no way to overemphasize how amazing it would be if we won. We'll take them one at a time because they're sort of different situations. In Wisconsin, the reason this race is important, there's a few, and we'll talk about it a few different times, but it's a Supreme Court race, state Supreme Court race. You all will remember back in 2023 when we flipped that Supreme Court and elected Janet Protasiewicz, and what a huge deal that was. And how once we did that, all kinds of amazing things started coming out of the Wisconsin Supreme Court. And again, we can talk more about that later. But that was because we finally had a liberal majority on that court. Well, now that liberal majority is in danger again. So a justice is leaving and we have to have a new election. If we elect another liberal, we can keep the majority on the Supreme Court. And there's all kinds of reasons that that is incredibly important. But even more importantly, This is an opportunity to stick it to a man that I think we can all agree is one of the most despised people in the country right now, which is Elon Musk. Elon Musk is literally trying to buy this election. He's put somewhere around $23 million into it. So far, it's the most any single person has ever spent on any state Supreme Court race. There are many reasons he's trying to buy it. He thinks he's a kingmaker. He's got business in front of the Wisconsin Supreme Court. But beating him would be beyond important, huge, morale boost, incredible, satisfying, and really, really, really good for Wisconsin and the country. So that's Wisconsin. In Florida, these are two congressional seats. And the funny thing about this situation, I just made a video about this morning. So under normal circumstances, I try to set people's expectations appropriately. These are in very, very red districts. Matt Gates's district, which is District 1, oh, sorry, that's my dog, is in the most Republican district in Florida, right? So under normal circumstances, we might not even talk about these as competitive districts, but these are not normal circumstances. We are watching as the Republicans are dismantling every single aspect of our government. And this week, really seeing how it's starting to impact Social Security in really real ways. Very concrete danger that entire agency is going to fall apart, and so many other things. I don't need to list the problems. But if we were to flip these two seats, and then we have two more Democratic vacancies because sadly, two Democratic lawmakers passed away. Once we get Democrats back in those seats, I believe that puts us at a tie in the House. And then were we to flip Elise Stefanik's seat, which they probably would not, they would withdraw her nomination if we won these races, but then we would flip the House. So at the very least, even tying it would mean we could slow them so much and scare the bejesus out of the Republicans. Make them understand that we, the voters, are more of a danger to them at this point than Elon Musk is. And that will change everything. That would be a game changer. So I'll go on to other questions, but they're real important races. Can't overstate it. And because people are so upset right now and everything is so upside down, I believe they're competitive, even in Florida, even in these districts.
I have a question, and sorry, I'm going a little off script here.
No problem.
You mentioned Elon and his money, and I'm curious what you think about this. So Elon investing all of this money in Wisconsin, and if Judge Crawford, succeeds, what message do you think that sends to people in the House of Representatives about what his money is worth? Is that going to make them more cautious about following along, or what do you think that indicates?
It's so unbelievably important. I can't even describe, even if we just were to win in Wisconsin and like come really close in Florida. I mean, God knows I want to win more than anything on earth, and we may. But either way, winning in Wisconsin alone would send a tremendous message. These Republican Congress members are terrified of being primaried. And guess who's going to fund their primary challengers? Elon Musk. So if they suddenly see, like, oh, Elon Musk is so unpopular that actually voters will turn out to defeat him no matter how much money he pours in. Again, game changer. It will change. We need a morale boost right now badly, and Republicans need a check right now badly. This would accomplish both, and then Florida would be like icing on the cake, and a cherry, and whipped cream, and whatever other sprinkles you like on top of that.
We want that Sunday. So,
We do.
talk to me a little bit about how these races impact important issues that I know many people on this call care about, like reproductive rights, public education, the economy, democracy itself. Like, what is
Sure.
the impact with both Florida and Wisconsin?
Again, it really almost can't be overstated. If we were to flip these two congressional seats, it's going to pull Republicans back dramatically on their attacks right now. And again, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, all three are in. I don't think Americans actually understand how much danger they're in, but I think they're starting to see it. We could protect them because they are not, when they see us flip two deeply red seats, they're going to go, whoa, like if we don't stop right now, we're all going to lose our seats in 2026. So it will reorient their approach completely. So as far as that goes, protecting healthcare, protecting Medicare, protecting Social Security, all of those things, reining them in completely. Right now, Trump has this imaginary mandate, which he actually doesn't have, but he's acting like he does. And this is a huge dent in his sort of perceived invulnerability. I was just reading today about how he doesn't have a mandate at all, but he's pretending he does, and that's almost as powerful. But if we win these elections, his entire mandate is just crumbled. It's a huge blow. And then for Wisconsin, what is at stake with this Supreme Court? We won finally in Wisconsin fair maps because we had a liberal majority on the courts. And as a result of those fair state legislative maps, we flipped 14 seats in November, right? Those are at stake. They're also going to be redrawing congressional seats in Wisconsin very soon. If we have a liberal majority, we should pick up somewhere between 2 to 3 more Democratic seats. If we don't, the opposite will happen. Abortion rights. Brad Schimmel supports the 1849 abortion law that was going to come into effect until this Supreme Court protected Wisconsin from it. If he comes back into power, then once again, we're looking at an abortion ban in Wisconsin, and all that goes with that. Democracy, drop boxes, voting rights across the board. The stakes are really high. I cannot communicate it more clearly. Like, they're so high. Everything is at stake. And then, as Ben Wickler likes to point out, the 2028 presidential elections, those are also at stake because we do not want a stop the steal guy. And that's what he is. He's a stop the stealer in the Wisconsin Supreme Court, making it a majority when Trump, God forbid, is up for re-election, or Vance or whoever. We just don't want that.
Thank you. And that was actually going to be my next question, is the national impact of this, because Wisconsin is a pretty pivotal state when it comes to national elections. So can you maybe go a little deeper dive onto that so people really, really understand that the fair maps in Wisconsin and how gerrymandering is treated, that actually does matter when it comes to presidential elections?
Oh, very much so. And I'm sorry, I'm having work done at my house, so I hope there's not a really loud noise in the background. Okay,
Can't hear
good.
anything.
It is yeah, critically important because, as you will remember, as Ben Wickler likes to tell the story, when we had the 2020 election and the Republicans tried to steal that election, Wisconsin came one vote on the court away from overturning the election. One vote, right? So again, the Republicans can't win elections really unless they steal them. I will say that, with the exception of the presidential in 2024, which was really confusing and surprising and unexpected and very specific set of circumstances, but in general, they like to now try to come and pull shenanigans around elections. This guy being in the place where he would be would enable that completely. He is an absolute Trumper. He has even used the language, I want to, quote, have Trump's back on the courts. That is sinister. We just can't have that.
What do you say to people? Because you were saying obviously these districts in Florida specifically are, very red districts, and so there's a lot of people who, like you said, are just like, I'm not going to get involved on there. I don't think that I can make an impact. What do you say to people who are saying that right now, or maybe who are messaging you, and asking you that question?
I mean, there's a lot of things that I could say to that, but the number one saying just being like, you can't win if you don't play. And under these circumstances, as Jason Berlin from Field Team 6 puts it, we're not really in a position right now to pick our battles. Oh, we're going to pick that battle, but we're going to leave that battle. If you're an army and you're pinned against a mountain and the other army's got like more numbers and they're coming at you, and you've got one play that's really risky and low, maybe won't work, but if you don't try it, you're going to get wiped out. You try it, right? And we're fortunately not going to get wiped out materially, but like, we have to try. We have to try. And I want to remind everybody else that Doug Jones won in Alabama, and I checked, that state, I believe, was Trump plus 28, which is more or less exactly the same that these districts are. So under the right circumstances, it is possible. And again, what are we going to do instead? We're going to sit and doom scroll. That's all any of us are doing, right? We call our reps. We can do some volunteering for Wisconsin as well. And then what are we going to do? We're going to watch Netflix. We're going to do whatever. Let's take a little of our spare time and put it in here. You can't win if you don't play. So we got to play. We just have to try.
I'm curious what people are messaging you about right now. Like you said, the country's kind of waking up. To what's happening, like the economy, of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. What are you hearing in your inbox from people about these issues? Like, what do you think is top of mind, and what do you think voters are thinking about as they go to the polls here?
Well, what I'm hearing the most about is Social Security, and I think that for good reason. I think we are now seeing a cascade of articles. Another one today in the Washington Post that was just basically like, it's falling apart. It's not even going to. It is. And it's falling apart as a direct result of the actions that Doge is taking. And so it's only a matter of time. People are already, they say that people showing up at the Social Security offices, it's already doubled. People are going in person because they're panicking. They're going in and standing in line to ask, am I going to have benefits? And the truth of the matter is that right now they may and they may not. That's a horrible thing to say, and lives are at stake. So I'm hearing a lot about that. Obviously, the national security fiasco, just absolute scandal that happened this week. The disappearances of protesters, peaceful protesters. There's a list a mile long, but I would say Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid are at the top of that. And these Florida races can directly impact that. And then, of course, just Doge and Elon Musk's out of controlness. And believe me, if we were to win all three of these elections, you would see Elon Musk, I almost guarantee you, out on his ear. I really believe the spell would be broken on him. So, again, the stakes are really high.
No, I'm actually really curious to follow up on that. So why do you think Elon would be out on his ear? Like, what do you really think that would be congressional pressure or just um, advisors to Trump? Like, who would recognize that? Because they seem to be.
Well, he is there, right? Okay, so right now he is under this sort of mystique. First of all, he's got a ton of money. He's got more money than anyone in the world, and they're all terrified of him. From what I hear from people who are talking to people on the Hill, these Republicans are putting on like, so everything's fine. I love Doge. I support them. But behind the scenes, they are freaking out. Their phones are ringing off the hook. They're getting chased around by Republicans. They can lie and say it's all Democrats. They know it's not. There are Republican voters and independent voters who are going and trying to talk to them, saying, what the hell are you doing? They're angry about the federal workers being fired. They're angry about Doge. They're angry about Social Security, and they want answers. And these Republicans are sort of trapped in this situation where they think Elon Musk is popular, they think he's powerful, and they are terrified of him. So if he takes a beating in Wisconsin, especially after he has put his entire reputation on the line, $22 million, he's buying all these really sneaky ads, like pretending to be Susan Crawford and sending out things that he knows are going to upset middle of the road voters. Like, he's playing very dirty. And if he loses, despite doing all of that, these Republicans are already really wearing thin on him. I don't think it would be long after those electoral losses when they would say, what's the upside here? He's not helping us win elections. We're hemorrhaging support. We're hemorrhaging voters. We just lost elections that no Republican ever should lose. And we lost a Supreme Court race after he put almost $25 million into it. Like, something is not computing here. I mean, I can't guarantee that would happen, but it would only make sense.
How
So
aware do you think the general public is, especially like in Wisconsin where he is putting all this money in? How aware do you think the general public is about the money being from Elon Musk?
that's a great question. I mean, I am not there, and we have people here who are, so it'll be good to ask them. But I do know that Ben Wickler, who is, I have a total political crush, fangirl crush on him. He's the most amazing state party chair, and he's doing a great job of tying them together. Because remember, Trump is like, his popularity ratings are falling. They're bad. And remember, again, everyone's like, why are his popularity ratings so high? They're not. He came into office with the lowest popularity rating of any president in recent history, except for one, Donald Trump in 2016. He's historically unpopular, and Elon Musk is way less popular than he is. People hate him. So Ben Wickler is very cleverly tying this race to him every way he can. He's running ads, he's got billboards, Susan Crawford's ads talk about Elon Musk. So they're doing the work there. And then I'm hoping that when people are phone banking and canvassing and talking to their friends and family, they are also doing that, because the more we tie this race to Musk, the more likely it is that we win.
Let's talk a little bit, I think, just to educate people about the Wisconsin Supreme Court. So you said there's a one seat, we're swinging here one seat. Can you talk a little bit about the makeup of that court and what the Supreme Court in a state does in terms of like impacting people's lives? So we know you talked about fair maps and gerrymandering and making sure that, we actually have free and fair elections that represent the people. But what about things like reproductive freedom or even the impact on an economy? Because I think a lot of times people really don't understand what a Supreme Court does.
Yeah, well, and again, this is a little bit outside of my purview, but I mean, state Supreme Courts decide most cases because obviously most things don't go up to the US Supreme Court. So a good state Supreme Court is going to fairly decide things like maps, congressional maps, state legislative maps. The thing about Wisconsin is that they had a majority on their Supreme Court before 2023, for a while. And as a result of that, they allowed a gerrymander that was so absurd that even though Wisconsin is a pretty evenly split state, Republicans had something like 73% of the representation in the state house, and the same thing in Congress. Just absolutely politicians choosing their voters and not the other way around. So if we care about gerrymandering, the state Supreme Courts are one of the most important places to pay attention. Maybe some of you know, and some of you don't, about what's happening in North Carolina right now, where they have a terribly political Supreme Court. It's a Republican dominated Supreme Court, and they're not even pretending to be unbiased. They decide cases based on, is this good for the Republicans in our state or is it not? And as a result of that court, we have a hopelessly gerrymandered map in North Carolina, which lost us a bunch of congressional seats. And right now there's a whole drama over a Supreme Court race that we won by 700 and something votes, and the other guy just refuses to concede. And the reason he's refusing to concede is because state Supreme Court races, especially in swing states, are some of the most important elections in the country. They maybe have always been, but particularly at a time when everything is ending up before the courts, because Republicans are doing things that are against the will of the people. People don't want abortion bans, but Republicans are forcing them to happen. People don't want to be biased and hurt LGBTQ and trans people, but Republicans are passing those policies anyway. And, they don't want union busting. They don't want horrible gun laws that let people, walk around with AK-50, whatever they're called. But these are the things that bad courts allow to happen, and good courts are unbiased and weigh things on their merits and say maybe not. And so there's been a lot of awareness ever since 2016. There's been a building awareness about the importance of these races. But for abortion rights alone, it's very, very likely, as I said, that if this guy Schimmel wins this race, he's real forced birth. I don't like the phrase pro-life. He's a big forced birther. It's very possible that Wisconsin loses their abortion rights, because what Republicans will do is immediately bring cases back up to that court to try to get rid of those rights and to try to get rid of the fair maps that we have in the state legislature and to try to get rid of or prevent there ever being fair maps in Congress. And, we just got drop boxes back in Wisconsin because Republicans had banned them. And the old court had said, that's okay, you ban those drop boxes. Well, the new court, someone brought a new case and the new court said, no, of course you can have drop boxes. Those are going to go away. It's really absurd that this is where we are in our democracy, that things are just being batted back and forth by courts, but that's where we are, and we definitely want to win this particular fight. It's vital.
And then let's talk, you mentioned a little bit about the impact of like the congressional races in Florida and what would happen if the Democrats do win those cases and the impact on Congress. You mentioned it could be almost, potential tie, or even if there was like a 1 seat difference there. What do you think the impact would be then on like how they approach legislation? We have things like the SAVE Act, that's going to take away voting rights from so many people, or horrific bills about, public education, divisive concepts, reproductive. There's so many things that are pending. So what do you think a split, the 217, or even like a 1 seat, like how do you think that's going to impact legislators then when they're thinking about passing or sponsoring or doing anything with these types of bills?
I mean, you guys, it takes a 1 seat majority to stop all Republican progress. They can't pass anything without a majority in the House and in the Senate. Right now, the budget bills that they're trying to pass, the budget bill that will give billionaires and corporations a $4.5 trillion tax cut. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. They want a $4.5 trillion tax cut. And in order to quote unquote pay for it, which they're not, by the way, it's going to double our deficit. It's going to double our deficit. But they want to cut $1.5 trillion in spending. Where is it going to come from? $880 billion of it from Medicaid and Medicare. And I've talked before about how we know that's where it's going to come from because they've designated the committee who needs to find those cuts. And that committee basically only deals with Medicare and Medicaid. So one vote and we can stop, like literally, all we do is take away their majority by one vote. They can't pass it. As long as Democrats stand unified, and obviously they would. They can't pass abortion bans. They can't pass the SAVE Act, which is a horrible bill. And the thing about the SAVE Act, which is, if you don't know, is a sort of it's a voting rights outrage. It's a voter suppression bill that would require you to basically register to vote in person. No more online voting registration, no more by mail voter registration. You have to go in person, and you have to bring proof of citizenship. So if you happen to be a person who lost your passport, lost your birth certificate, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to register to vote. And if you are a woman who is married and taken your husband's name, your birth certificate doesn't match that name, and it is going to be almost impossible for you to register to vote. Bills like that right now can't pass by usual measures, right? Because they'll pass in a Republican House, but Democrats can still filibuster them in the Senate. Remember, they need 60 votes to overcome a filibuster, and they don't have 60 Republican senators. But what Republicans are talking about doing is sneaking the SAVE Act into a must pass, like the debt limit bill. And that is something that they might be able to pass with fewer votes. And once again, by reconciliation, once again, we're talking about they can do that without any Democrats. And that would be disastrous. So again, stakes are really high. I don't want to scare people, but it's just things are going to get increasingly really awful. And winning these two seats, especially in Florida, giving us that congressional House buffer, it would be a game changer. It would be incredibly protective to everything we care about.
What I'm hearing from you is it would be a wake-up call for Musk money, and whether it's really that impactful, that it would be a wake-up call for Republicans that maybe these bills that they're trying to pass aren't going to be supported, and that they're not protected, and that we could actually stop some of this horrible stuff that is going on. And with Wisconsin, we obviously would have then, a place that's going to protect fair maps, which is going to help us all when it comes to the next presidential. That was my short summary, Jessica, of everything that you were saying there. So I'm so glad we have like 630 people now who are on this call, which means there are so many of you who care about these races and care about democracy. I really would like to bring up now some women who are doing this work on the ground in Wisconsin and Florida and hear from them. I will give Jessica a little break. I will let her go do whatever she needs to do, get some water, and we will bring her back. So if you guys are just joining, we will bring Jessica back though. So do not worry. Okay, and I think we just need to bring up Lisa Williams, and there she is. So everybody, Lisa, I think you need to unmute, but everybody, so glad to have you here, and we really appreciate you not only joining us tonight, but all the work that you were doing in your states. Deborah, you're next to me, so I'm just going to start with you. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you got involved in these races?
Thank you for having me. I'm in my 70s now, and I have been voting throughout my life, but I've never had any interest in getting into any kind of a political campaign until now. And it started when I heard about Project 2025 and then saw the results of the election, started seeing how the country was changing dramatically, especially with women's rights. And I started feeling a lot of anger, and I thought there has to be something I can do. I need to step up, speak out, do something. And I had heard about Trouble Nation through Red, Wine, and Blue. So I looked for a local chapter and I couldn't find anything. And then on January 19th, I was watching a live Zoom with Heather Cox Richardson, who I've been following forever, like Red, Wine, and Blue. And I saw in the chat that Ilana mentioned that she had a group called Emerald Coast Sweep in the Panhandle. So that's my territory. So I contacted her. I joined the group right away. She's doing great work here. And then I started really paying attention about Gay Valamont. And I got over to her campaign office. I met her. I met some of her brilliant staff. I learned who she was, what she was about, who she was representing. I, for the first time, really understood the significance of her campaign and the election potential of getting to the Congress to flip that seat, how it would impact not only our own district, but the country. So I absolutely was ready to support her. I go to my first Women's March. I meet Alicia from, she's the president of the Blue Panhandle Coalition, which is a local group that's been supporting Gay's campaign from the very beginning. And Alicia said, hey, we need some volunteers. And I said, I have no idea what I'm doing. This is the first time in my life I've ever even thought about this, but I'm ready to dive in. So here I am.
I love it. That is such a Red, Wine, and Blue story of
All
you
about
showing up and
connection.
just doing the thing. We're going to stick with Florida. So Trisha, I'd love to have you come on, introduce yourself and tell me, how you got involved in this or why you're doing this.
My name is Tricia Stoddard. I'm here in Vero Beach, Florida, which is mid-Atlantic on the East Coast, not in either of these two districts, but in July of 2024, somebody actually said out loud what I had been screaming about, and that was Heather Cox Richardson, who I've been following since 2017, about Project 2025. And like Deborah, I have spent decades we went through this fight already. So I had spent decades running a business and raising my family and thinking, oh, this could never happen here. And it was happening. So in November, I was grateful and extremely privileged to appear on stage in a conversation with Heather Cox Richardson and fellow activists and local leaders, one of whom told the story of how Moms for Liberty affected her school board campaign and being a school board director. And that led me to another local leader by the name of Liz Mkhitaryan, who I have formed a partnership and alliance with in our local group. She is the national founder of Stop Moms for Liberty, and she is doing tremendous work that answers not only what we see on the political landscape on the federal level and with the Department of Education deconstruction and dismantling, but on the local levels to what parents are actually feeling and experiencing at the hands of these little tyrants in this little fiefdom here in Florida that Ron DeSantis loves to tell us all how to parent. So I won't bore you with the rest of my life story, but with regard to these races, I joined everybody else being disappointed and devastated at the loss, the great loss to our democracy, when more people voted for somebody other than Trump. So this was not a mandate. Unfortunately, they didn't all vote for democracy. So when I listened to Kamala Harris talk about only when it is dark enough can you see the stars, I decided right then and there to dust that star off my boots, pick myself up and be one of those stars. And I have not stopped focusing that light and focusing on that beacon that is Heather Cox Richardson's guidance of do what you can do, pick an issue, pick a mission, pick a purpose. And lo and behold, these two races came up. And what we have been talking about to our local community members, and it has really caught fire, is this is our opportunity. These 3 seats are our opportunity to tell Mike Johnson, you're fired. And when that happens, when we flip this House and the Democrats are the majority, we not only have a Democrat Speaker of the House, we have all new committee members, oversight committees, and that is when Congress is going to investigate DOJ, put them on notice that we are here to protect and serve the people and uphold that Constitution, not DOJ and not the president. So that's why I'm here.
You are thinking big, and I love those goals that you just laid out. That's even more motivation, like to get involved with these races. All right, Lisa, we're going to jump to Wisconsin. So tell us a little bit about you and why you are getting involved in these races, or the race in Wisconsin.
Thank you. I'm Lisa Williams, and in 2017, I started a group at my dining room table called Persisters of Wisconsin. We've been meeting weekly for 8 years, and we just persist. We resist and we persist. And we've created quite a community here. We're multi-generational. We go from the teenagers up until people in their 90s. And I really think that that gives us a handle on how people are feeling in Wisconsin. We never miss. We meet every week, even if there's 2 of us. These days, it's more like 40 to 50 of us. And we talk about what is happening at the state level and the national level that is either giving us hope, because we want to call out the people who are giving us hope and encourage them, and the things that are breaking our heart. And then that's when we oppose things. So every week we put out an action sheet to our 1,000 people on our email list, and we say, here's 6 quick, easy things that you can do. And we try to make it as easy as possible. We give them a link, we give them a phone number. And what our real objective is a lot of the people that joined us had never called a representative before. They'd never written one before. They'd never gone to a school board meeting. And we just want to say that in a democracy, especially one that's under threat, everybody has a responsibility. Every one of us has a role at whatever level. We have a lot of young moms. We understand they can't knock on doors, but there's 3 or 4 or 5 other things they can do. So now we're talking about this Supreme Court race, and we're just trying to make it as easy as possible for all of our members to get involved, to take action, whether that is friend banking. We just text every person in our contact in our phones. We tell people to be brave. We've all learned to be braver together. Right. Whether we're standing out on a street corner, as we're going to do on Friday, we're going to all be out there with "must can't buy this election" with our signs. Or we're going to be knocking on doors, or we're going to be doing phone banks with Moms Demand Action in every town and WISDEMs. And we just try to motivate the people who are part of our group to take action, to know, don't be hopeless. When we're together, we give each other hope, but we also give each other a lot of courage. So we've had some great wins in Wisconsin. I mean, when we elected Janet Protasevich, and we flipped that court to a progressive balance, we brought back fair maps, we brought back abortion rights, and we don't want to lose that again. So that's what's motivating us right now. We don't want to lose what we just worked really, really hard to gain. We don't want to backslide. And so that's what's giving us a lot of motivation to get out there and plug in at whatever level we can. But the thing is, every one of us has a role, and there's something for every one of us to do. And if we're good grassroots activists, we'll give people those ideas so they can plug in. They don't have to be some long-time political activist. They don't have to have hundreds of dollars. What they can do is find an easy way to plug in and be a part of the solution. I really liked what Just Craven said. You got to fight, otherwise there's no hope, right? So absolutely. As we gather together weekly, we motivate each other to keep fighting, because how many of us wanted to curl up into a ball in November? And I know in 2017, when I first started Persisters, because I have 3 daughters, and I could not stand that man with the words coming out of his mouth was the president of my 3 daughters. And so whatever it takes to motivate us, we just got to keep going back to that source and keep fighting. And as many people as we can bring along, make it joyful. We have parties, I'm sorry if I've gone on too long.
No. I love that spirit, because I love the fact that you started Persisters. I mean, I talked to Lisa, this is before Red, White, and Blue ever launched Trouble Nation, which, by the way, if you're not familiar, Trouble Nation, you can talk to Trish, you can talk to Deborah, they're part of Trouble Nation groups. Those are our affiliated groups around the country of people who are doing local organizing. And they're doing exactly what Lisa said. They're having fun, they're making it social, they're making friends, but they are getting shit done. Like, they are working in these races hard. And so, Deborah, I want to talk to you about that. And I'm going to kind of combine some of our questions. So talk to me about, the Trouble Nation group you're part of. And also, I know you're now part of the Blue Panhandle Coalition. But I would love to hear from you. And I think everybody on this call, now that Jess Craven has kind of explained to us why these races are so important, what are you doing? What are your groups doing? How are you making an impact on this congressional race? And then also, like, what's the vibe on the ground? Like, what are people saying when you knock a door or send a text? Like, what are you hearing?
Well, it's a combination of things. And right now, my main energy is focused with Blue Panhandle Coalition. And I can tell you right now that it was a great group for me, because they had a lot of activities going on when I was ready to do something. And I've even got a list so I don't forget, keeping in mind that I have such great respect for all of you who've already been doing this work for a long time. I am absolutely brand new. When I say newbie, I am serious about it. So I don't know how I got caught up on this wave of energy that's going on now. I mean, if timing is anything, it swept me up, because I have now been helping the Blue Panhandle Coalition, helping Gay Valamont's campaign, which will continue till, April 1st. And some of the actions that I have found myself involved in, we've knocked on just our group. There's large and smaller groups all along the Panhandle that are so activated. I mean, the mood here is on fire, and everyone really understands the significance of what's going on with this election, getting her in Congress, flipping that seat, not just for our own district, but for the whole country. So we feel that. And so people are coming in from everywhere, but our own local folks, this particular group I've been in with the Blue Panhandle, right now still counting 8,500 doors we've knocked on, sent out 10,000 postcards. I'm phone canvassing. I've been putting out signs like this out on the street everywhere I can find a corner that's safe and legal. I've been promoting on social media on every kind of link, anything about this. And I've gone to 4 town halls, never done that in my life. And one of them was just recently where Gay had invited the Lieutenant Colonel Amy McGrath to come out. It was a packed house in Pensacola. The majority were veterans, military families, because we have 36,000 military veterans in just our district right here. And the VA thing is a really big deal right now. And they were pissed. I mean, the guys and the women that were standing up and explaining already they're being impacted right now, not just the future cuts that are being threatened, but right now they're feeling it. And there was a lot of interest. So she was right there paying attention and listening. And then we even had the Social Security town hall. It wasn't Gay's, but the former Social Security Commissioner, Martin O'Malley, he was here Sunday. And so I went to that one because I really wanted, and so did our Blues and the campaign. Gay was there briefly talking about Social Security and Medicare cuts and all of that. So I've gone to these town halls. I've been to 4 street rallies. And now I'm on Red Wine and Blue, for God's sake. I mean, I've been watching you folks for years, and the last thing I would have thought 2 months ago is that I'd be so fully involved and active in this political world. And I don't know what's happening, but I'm just like on a roll right now. I feel like this adrenaline rush. So there's so much happening, and there's fewer Trump signs. So, I mean, that's one thing I wanted to share. I live in the red section. And for the last, 10, 12 years, whatever, Trump flags, Trump signs everywhere around me. And literally in the last couple of months, they're all disappearing.
Yes. Well, I'm glad to hear all the amazing things. And this is, like I said, a Red, Wine, and Blue story, never being active before. Now you're doing all those things that you just named out. Trisha, please tell me a little bit about what you all are doing, but also just, I would love to hear too, like, what is the vibe? What are you hearing from people as you're talking to them?
We're hearing tremendous energy and hunger for candidates that hear their voice, that hear what they have to say and actually respond. We've got 2 candidates that are on the ground. They're not talking down to people. They're not hiding from town halls. They are hosting town halls. They are opening their doors, opening their social media. I see Josh and Gay both responding to questions online. We're pushing out here locally everything that they're doing. And they're actually, when they speak, they're speaking policy. They're speaking people. They are speaking what's important. They're not politicians. They are there to serve the people that they're campaigning with. Their energy is contagious, and I have one local leader who is literally my hero. She was in our meeting and met Gay, and she looked at her own group. She looked at her own base, and she looked in District 1 and said, well, who do I know up there? And she's got family and church members and coalition members all across Florida. And she happens to have a nephew who is a pastor at a church near in Josh's district near the Bethune-Cookman campus. And she called him and she said, you need to hear this. You need to join this group and listen to what they're doing. He went to a cookout with the ministers and pastors in his alliance, and they are now galvanizing their community. In historically low voter turnout in the African American communities in those districts, they are on the ground. They are knocking on doors. They are having concerts. They are having cookouts. They are going to be the Republicans' April surprise. And we are really excited about it because she is on fire. Her and our group is on fire. We have people. I have a member in Australia writing articles for us about not only the candidates, but about the economy. And he's not talking about all the horrible things that Doge is doing. He's talking about the real economic impact of what not having a Democrat in that seat is doing to those districts. And it is, like I just said this in the chat, if informed education is our currency, we're spending it wisely. Informed, educated influence is a rare commodity these days. And so we are investing it, and we are investing in it. And the return on our investment is going to be tenfold. We have people just, it is a groundswell movement. We're following Red Wine and Blue's networking platform, and we are sharing our stories, our passion, and our joy. And we're going to get this done.
Love it. All right. I do want to bring Jess back up because we want to finish and wrap up. Lisa, 20 seconds, 15. What's the vibe in Wisconsin?
Well, I can tell you the vibe today. I was at the campus of the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and it was a great vibe there. There were a lot of people from different groups, from Moms Demand Action to some small, like local campus groups, getting out the vote. And they were all doing it in a progressive direction. And that surprised me because there is a lot of on the ground outreach from the Schimmel side. So I was happy to see at UWM today, it was all progressives. I decided to stand at a bus stop. For any of you who are out there trying to reach voters, bus stops, captive audience. It was fantastic. So I talked each time the bus, they were waiting for the new bus, I got another 10 to 20 people. I have to say, I'm a little bit nervous about the young men. And I mentioned this to Julie earlier. There's just a different vibe I'm feeling. Not from the other volunteers, the other young men who were volunteering, just the average young male population. And I felt that in fall as well when I worked the polls. I worked near a conservative Christian college. There are never young men in their vote coming to register. They were all registering to vote that day. You can do same-day voter registration in Wisconsin. So I have to tell you, I said to Julie, should I be really honest? I focused on the women. I want to get the young women to the polls because I was just feeling this kind of uncomfortable vibe. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm like, if I only have limited amount of time, I'm going to the young women on the campus, and they were either all early voters or they had their voting plan, or they were very receptive to what I was saying about reproductive freedom and fair maps. Also, I was there with Moms Demand Action, so that was a really strong argument as well for gun safety laws. So
well, I totally appreciate that
the vibe was great. I'm sorry I went on too long again.
No. I was going to say, I love that
today.
you focused your energy where you needed to focus it. And if you think the women were listening and they were ready to go, then that's where you put your energy. And I'm glad to hear that. Thank you so much, Lisa. Appreciate you. Jessica, welcome back. Glad to have you back up here. So would love to ask you, and we talked a little bit about this, about the outcome of the races, if there is this surprise in Florida that people aren't expecting and the impact on the national level. I guess, what do you think? I'm looking at my question to make sure. I kind of think we answered some of this. you talked a little bit about, this is a hard district in Florida. So if they, cannot pull it out, what do you think it means though, in terms of like, it's a huge swing for those candidates? Like what message does that send, even if it isn't a win, which I hope it is, and I'm cheering for that. What message do you think it sends if they just see a swing in that race to like Congress?
I mean, that's the thing, we have to, yeah, I want to win too. And we're gonna try to win. We are trying to win. We are intending to win. But even were we to swing that seat by 20, 27 points, you guys remember that we won a special election in Iowa shortly after Trump took office. We swung a seat. I can't remember how many points we swung it by, but it was a seat that I think Trump had won by 27 points, and we won it. We had a great candidate. He ran a great field operation. People liked him, and we won. And so, first of all, it's possible, albeit a long shot. And second of all, even if we just come close, we are going to scare the bejesus out of them. We are not supposed to come close in this election. This is an election. This is like trying to, like, I live in one of the most blue districts in the country, right? In my district, like, I don't even know if a Republican actually ever runs. It's really like two Democrats against each other. But it would be the shocker of like a Republican in my district almost winning. Like every single Democrat in the district would go like, "Oh my God, what what is happening? Like what just happened?" Um, so while I really do want to win, even a near miss would be an astonishing victory. It would be huge. It wouldn't be a victory in the sense that like it wouldn't give us that edge in the House that we would like to have, but it would really be huge, you guys. Not a single Republican is expecting this to even be close. And who knows? Maybe they'll be proven right. But I don't think so. Not this time. But they'll be shocked if it's even close, let alone if we win, they're going to lose their minds. Really, really cannot describe how much this seat is considered, these two seats are not considered to be in play, and what a big message it will send if they're in play or even close to in play. Huge message.
So, just as a general question, we know that the chaos is just nonstop, right? There's just stuff coming at us all the time. We know democracy is under threat, voting rights are under threat, all of our rights. So, what signs of hope? You talk to a lot of people. I know you get a lot of emails from people who follow you. What signs of hope are you seeing, either in Florida and Wisconsin, or even just around the country? What's giving you hope, and what's making you happy every day?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, what keeps me happy generally is that I am in the activism world. So I'm in the like doing things world. And generally my anxiety levels are there's a corollary between how much I'm doing and how anxious I am. So if I'm out there, if I'm making my phone calls, I've called all of my representatives today. I've done my newsletter, I've done a bunch of stuff. I'm here with you guys. Like when I'm in community, this Saturday I was at a Tesla takedown. If you want a jolt, if you want a boost, go to a Tesla takedown. Go to any protest. Go stand with the people who are protesting for the national parks or for science or for, whatever, Trans Day of Visibility, but just being with people, we remember, oh, right, this is what democracy looks like. And democracy is a really beautiful thing. And what gives me hope is that while everything we value is under attack right now, and it is really scary, I'm not going to pretend it's not, but I also see Americans raising their heads all across the country and saying, or if no one else is going to fight this, I'm going to fight this. And it's regular Americans. It is some lawmakers. It is a lot of lawyers and a lot of judges and, just a mix of people. Heather Cox Richardson, I mean, whoever. It's just people who are all coming together to say, I have taken for granted my entire life that, this is a free country, but I want this to stay a free country. And people are fighting. They are fighting back. And I'll tell you the other thing that gives me hope, and this is in no way a brag. I've said this before, but I'm only saying it because it really explains the explosion of new interest we've had in activism since Donald Trump came into office the second time. I have gained over 100,000 subscribers to my newsletter. My newsletter had 40,000 subscribers all through Trump's first term, then Biden. It sort of crept up, and Trump came in that second time, and it was like the whole world said, oh my God, I want to fight. And every day more people are joining us. Anecdotally, I'm hearing about Trump voters who are like, oh my God, what is happening? Non-voters, third-party voters who are all realizing like, oh God. And so It is really scary, but I firmly believe in us. I believe in us. I believe that we are going to turn this around. And I believe that once we do, we are going to actually start building towards something real and meaningful. What Bernie is talking about, what AOC is talking about, what Elizabeth Warren has been talking about. We need a vision, and we have one. And I believe that Americans together want that vision, and that we are starting to realize that the enemy is not each other, but the enemy is up here. It's the billionaires and it's the oligarchs. And when we all join together and we fight them, we will win. And it will be a beautiful thing to be a part of. We're living in history right now. So history is going to look back and it's going to go, wow, what did people do during that crazy 2025 moment? And there will be the people who sat back and did nothing or were complicit. And the history books will be very hard on them. And there will be the people like us, the people who were part of the popular movement to stop it. And I want to be those people. And we are. We're here. We're on the right side. We're fighting the right fight.
Yeah.
And there is no greater honor than fighting to save democracy in this country, which in a certain sense is like fighting to save it for the entire world. So what more could we ask to do with our lives? That's what gives me hope.
I love that, because what you said about the growth is like also we're mirroring that at Red, Wine, and Blue. Like we've just seen people coming in huge numbers. I mean, we are we launched Trouble Nation, the distributed, our group that we help support local organizing, and our goal was to have more chapters than Moms for Liberty, and they had they did have 250. You guys, we hit 728 chapters across. Well, I don't say chapters; they're affiliated groups, but across the country, all 50 states. I said we got Mississippi, so. We're seeing the same thing, Jessica, that you're talking about. So that does give hope. So I'm going to drop right now in the chat. I have a what you can do document that helps, things, websites you can go to, phone banks that you can go to. Also, I want to encourage everybody, and Jessica, you can say why this is so important and what you think people should be doing. But you got friends in Wisconsin, you have friends in those districts, you need to be contacting them. What do you recommend? I mean, this is what you do every day. What do you recommend people do? How should they get involved? How can they help?
I mean, there's great organizations for all of these elections. I think all of the candidates or in Wisconsin's case, the Wisconsin Democratic Party is phenomenal. So you can go to the Wisconsin Democratic Party and they will hook you up. They will get you volunteering, phone banking, knocking on doors if you're in the area, whatever. And the Florida Democrats are great. They have a big event coming up again on Thursday where they're going to talk more about the races. These candidates all have great field operations. Volunteer. And even if it's scary, even if you're like, I don't want to call strangers, I never call strangers. I just keep trying to remind people, like, we're not being asked to go out and do trench warfare. Like, we're not being asked to go to another country to fight. We're just being asked to make some uncomfortable phone calls. And often they're not as uncomfortable as we think they're going to be. It's not a huge ask to save democracy. And that's kind of what we're up against. So, we can all get a little outside of our comfort zone. And the one other thing I wanted to add to what I said before is that not only you guys are picking up lots of new members, and my newsletter is, Indivisible has gained more new groups in the last 3 months. Every month has broken new records, and then every subsequent month has doubled the old record. In the last week, they had 100 new groups formed just in the last week, and they'll also Run for Something, the organization that recruits young people to run for office, has had something like 35,000 people sign up to run for office and learn about running for office since Trump came in for his second term. So we're in the worst of it right now. It sucks, you guys. It sucks. But like, I really don't want us to quit before the miracle. There is something happening here. There's a lot of churn. There's a lot of concern, but it is turning into action. It is turning into activation. And man, when it fully forms, we are going to kick some ass. So stick with us. Thank you for doing what you're doing. Help us win these races. And one day at a time, we're gonna get through this, and we're gonna find something better.
We are going to end on that positive note. We want everyone to get involved in whatever way you can. I will send an email tomorrow with the document that I'm dropping in the chat right now. But please, whether that is you go to those websites and check out what you can do those virtual phone banks. And like I said, we are all about relational organizing. So if you have friends that live in these areas, you need to be on the phone texting them. You need to make sure that they are turning out. And then you need to say to them, who else can you contact? You need to make sure that they are turning everybody out, because I am inspired. I know we can win this, and I know we can just, what did you say, Jessica? Scare the bejesus out of them. So
Scare the bejesus out of them. Yes.
So thank you all for joining tonight. Thank you so much for Deborah and Trisha and Lisa for coming to speak and share their on the ground experience. And again, thank you so much to Jessica Craven for joining us and for everything she's doing on a daily basis. Please check out her Substack, and we will hopefully see you very, very soon at another event. Thank you all for coming.